This is Raymond from RPAT TV here with Dave Oshry, the marketing director for Rise of the Triad. Dave, 2012, Rise of the Triad. Why now? Why this game?
Why now? Because I think it's about damn time. Apogee, recently split back off from 3D Realms and held on to some of these great old IPs. Some of them aren't around anymore, but one of the most iconic and cult classic, IPs, Rise of the Triad, was still there, just ripe for a remake. And not just a remake, but a reboot. And Interceptor Entertainment, the guys who were working on Duke Nukem 3D Reloaded, they got a ton of buzz, ton of press. And Apogee saw, how passionate and hardcore these guys were about, doing like amazing reboots of, games, old school first person shooters without, ruining anything, ruining what made the original so classic. And they tapped them and reached out, and here we are 6 months later, and we've been playable. We've been out there. We're showing people our development process, and so far it's going great. People really seem to be digging the direction we're taking this thing. Old school, old school design with a new school flow.
Now, there are a lot of old school PC gamers that, are totally psyched about this. But what about newer gamers? I mean, what does this brand mean to them? Why should they care about this game?
They should care because it's fun. I remember a time when video games were about fun. I'm not going to sit here and try to sell you on authenticity and realism. This is Rise of the Triad. It's crazy. It's over the top. And I think it's going to introduce a lot of new school first-person shooter gamers to that, old school level design. Running around looking for keys, lots of doors, crazy weapons, super fast-paced. But there's still a story there, and there's still lots to find. But for the new school gamers, we've got achievements, we've got leaderboards and stat tracking. We've got crazy multiplayer that's easy to implement. So some of it's going to feel familiar, but some of it's going to feel new because it's old, and it looks great because it's it's a fully licensed Unreal 3 game. So we want to appeal to those old school, hardcore first-person shooter fans, the guys who grew up on Doom and Duke and the original Rise of the Triad, but we want it to also be a game that anybody can see on the front page of Steam and go, that looks cool and bloody and fun, let me try that. And they'll like it just because it's, crazy, awesome fun.
So it's something old, something new, something borrowed,
something full of blood and gore, yeah.
Love it, that's the new tagline.
Yeah, something old, something new, so something borrowed and something bruised.
Now, we've been talking about this for a while, and I know a little bit about the backstory, but can you tell the people out there, how did this project come to be?
That's a good question. Like I was saying, before, Apogee was, they're looking to, they've got some great old IPs, right? And they were looking for a company who could really, do these justice, not, I don't want to say ruin it, but, not do it right. You got to when you have something that's such a cult classic, like some of the IPs Apogee has, you need a company that's just, they have to be hardcore. They have to all be fans of the original. And Interceptor are just clearly those guys. I mean, Apogee saw the work they were doing on Duke 3D Reloaded. Terry, the head of Apogee, reached out to Frederick, the head of Interceptor, on Facebook of all things, because that's what you do these days. And they got together and they started talking. And they were talking about some of their old IPs. And it was funny because this was just around the time I was finishing up writing about games. I used to be a games writer, and I did a lot of coverage of Duke 3D Reloaded. And I wanted to know, I know it had been put on hold because of the dispute with Gearbox. So I reached out to Frederick via Facebook, and I said, what are you guys doing? What's going on with Interceptor? What are you working on? And he said, well, we got contacted by this legendary publisher with some great IPs, and we're going to be working on their stuff. And I said, well, that's interesting. You want to, I'm looking for investment opportunities, opportunities to, grow brands, stuff that I do. I'm a marketing guy. What are you working on? So he sends me an NDA, and it says Apogee on it. I was like, you fucking kidding me? Like, Apogee? They're still around? And I got on a Skype call, kind of like we're doing right now, and they told me what they were working on. I was like, holy shit! It was unbelievable to me because I was a huge fan. I'm it's one of my top 5 favorite games of all time, Rise of the Triad. And I was like, I got to get involved with this. We gotta blow this thing out of the water. This has to be the reboot of all classic FPS reboots. And here we are. and it just kind of all so far so good. It's all just kind of everything's fallen into place. It's not about having too many cooks in the kitchen. We think we've got just the right amount of cooks between new school designers, old school fans, and guys who actually worked on the original game, guys who modded the original game between now and then, and guys who weren't into the original game but are great Unreal 3 level designers who have an appreciation for old school level design. So we think we've got just the right amount of stuff to make this whole thing work, and so far it's been great.
So this game is happening because of Facebook and Skype.
Yes, just like everything else in the world these days, it is happening because of Facebook and Skype.
The future is now.
The future is now, except for the Facebook IPO that is gone.
No comment. So community will play a big aspect of this. Can you talk about how you're going to be supporting modders with Rise of the Triad?
Game is completely 150,000% moddable. If you can mod Unreal 3 or use UDK, which is completely free, you can do whatever you want to this game. And not only that, it's a Steamworks game that's going to use the Steam Workshop. So much like Skyrim, you'll be able to share and rate your mods and share them with the Steam community. And Steam is a huge platform. We're pushing it as our main platform. But if you want the game completely 100% DRM free and just want to have it and sit in a bunker with the game and mod it by yourself, you'll be able to get it like that from the Apogee store as well. And we're going to be supporting, the community with our forums. We're going to be talking to the Nexus. Maybe they want to, get the Rot Nexus going. But mostly, we're confident that with, Epic behind us and Valve behind us, with Unreal Development Kit and the Steam Workshop, it's going to be a great resource for people to just, have tons of fun with Rise of the Triad.
Now, here's a part of the interview that I don't know will make the final cut, but I wanted to give one of our buddies credit for totally calling you out on this being the game that you're making. Do you recall that night in Las Vegas?
Yes, I do.
So who was the man that we should give credit to?
We should give credit to Devin Connors, formerly of Tom's Hardware. This was back, I guess it was in January, February. I was getting done writing about games, and I told him I was moving in to a marketing position with an indie developer working with an old publisher, but I wasn't going to tell anybody. We weren't going to reveal till QuakeCon. I wasn't going to tell anybody, especially my friends in the press. And I said, if you can guess what the IP is, I will tell you. And I forget what clues I gave him, but I was really vague. I said
super vague.
Yeah, I was like old school IP, first person shooter. I think did I say Texas? I might have said Texas area.
Actually, I don't think you did. That just made the guess all the more amazing.
I was super vague. I don't remember what his first guess was, but his second guess was Rise of the Triad. And I said, "Holy shit!" Yeah, there you go. And I was like, "Yes, that's what I'm doing." And he was flipping out about it, and he has ever since. And I made him sign an NDA, I think, the next day
on a cocktail napkin.
Yes.
Yes. And, for the people out there, this is what video game nerds do in Las Vegas.
We hang out, we drink, and we try to guess what each other is working on.
And it stayed in Vegas until you announced it at QuakeCon.
It stayed in Vegas, Devin, and a lot. It was amazing that we managed to keep this thing under wraps for so long because so many people knew about it. But everybody was just, we really wanted to have that impact of the reveal at QuakeCon. And it happened. We managed. The embargo lifted, and everybody was talking about it at the same time. It was trending on Twitter, and it couldn't honestly. Other than the reveal on stage itself, where we had some audio issues, the impact of the reveal couldn't have possibly gone any better for us, and it was pretty awesome. So I'd like to thank all my friends, especially Devin, for keeping their fucking mouths shut.
Let's talk about QuakeCon for a second. How did the game go over? What kind of things did you hear from the fans there?
It was great. I mean, especially after the reveal, people were excited. I mean, there's two kinds of Rise of the Triad players. There's people who go, "Holy shit! I remember that game with the bat and the dog and the crate and the blood and the oh my god and the music." And there's people who go, because they kind of remember, but they were busy playing Doom instead. Because they all know, Rise of the Triad, came out at the same time as Doom was coming out. Oh, Doom 2, sorry. And it kind of got overshadowed, obviously. So, at QuakeCon, we knew it was just the perfect place to show the game. And when I approached Todd Hollinshead about it, he immediately said yes. And I was thrilled, because they could have said no. id could have said no, ZeniMax could have said no, Bethesda could have said no, we don't want your stinking game in our convention, go away. But Todd was on board immediately, and he was the first person that actually, Todd Hollinshead was the first person to see the game outside of Interceptor. We showed it to him behind closed doors at E3, and he was excited. He gave the okay. Willits gave the okay. Carmack gave the okay, and when Carmack says okay, Bethesda says okay. Um, so we showed the game at QuakeCon, and I really wanted to, even though we were super early in development, I knew we had to have the game playable there. So we took a month out of development time and prepared a multiplayer build specifically for QuakeCon, and we built this awesome booth that we designed, and we had it there. And we were 5 months in development, and we were on the floor at QuakeCon, out in the open and playable. And it was super early build, but people could already tell it was, crazy fun. We had a line at the booth the entire convention. We ran out of stuff to give away, and there was just people jump in and out every time. We had to set up ropes because we had to organize the people trying to get in line to play the game, and it couldn't have gone better. Everybody was thrilled about it. People were loving it, and it was I think even Fatality came by once and he was like, this is fucking old school and cool. I was like, yeah, Fatality, So I mean, old school gamers love it. The younger kids, they were seem to be into it, and it's just and it gives us the validation that we're doing this right. It's the kind of game that old school competitive guys like Fatality, who are there at QuakeCon to play Quake Live, can get into, because it's that fast and fun, and it plays a lot like the old games. It plays a lot like Rot 95, which is funny. But new kids, they come up and they go, oh, that guy's running around, shooting exploding baseballs out of a bat at people. I want to play that game. And it looks really good because it's Unreal 3. So the response was awesome, and having it, we took a risk. I took a definite risk pushing the Interceptor guys to have this game out and playable from a marketing standpoint. But I knew we had to do it. The game had, I wanted it out there. I didn't want to just do like a teaser trailer and then say, all right, see you next year. I hate that. Coming from the press side, I hate that shit. So I want it to be a full experience right out the bat, and it paid off, because now people, they were able to see our vision, our focus, the talent of Interceptor, and we couldn't be more thrilled with the response. And I couldn't be more thrilled from a marketing standpoint. There's a guy who, put his neck out on the line, was like, all right, I'm going to take a 5-month-old game and build a booth and put it on the floor of a, major gaming convention. Yeah, and it paid off. So I couldn't be more thrilled, and the Interceptor guys are just super proud that the public received their game so well, as did the press.
Now, would you talk about the decision to go with Unreal Engine? It seems like a lot of independent developers are loving Unity, but you guys are going Unreal. Why's that?
Well, the Interceptor guys have, when they came together to work on Duke, that was on Unreal 3. And a lot of the guys were already they're very, very experienced UDK guys. You get a lot from Epic and Unreal when you're a fully licensed Unreal 3 developer. The kind of fidelity and just how the things that Unreal Engine can do. I mean, there's a reason that some of the most successful games in the world are built on Unreal Engine 3. I mean, Arkham City comes to mind immediately, as well as a little thing called Gears of War, and a jillion other games. It's just UDK is an easy engine to use. The difference between that and Unity is it's cost less. And Unity is a very capable engine, but you can't get the kind of things out of Unity than you can if you're an experienced Unreal 3 designer, and especially if you're we're not just using UDK. We're a fully licensed Unreal 3 now. We have an engine license for this game. And what you get from that is Epic literally works with you side by side to make sure any features you want in this game, anything up to full DX11 tessellation, are working and look and play as good as physically possible. And it's awesome. It's a level of game development that you don't really see in a lot of indie developers. And it's great that Epic was willing to work with us. And from a marketing standpoint, being able to say that we're made with Unreal Engine 3 just makes us very proud.
And now I think Mark Rain owns like 2% of your soul.
Yeah, actually, Mark Rain owns 7% of our soul. If you want to know exactly, yes, Mark Rain owns 7% of our soul from now until the end of time. And I think Cliffy gets 0.5% and a Jazz Jackrabbit button.
Now, to give a recap, when do you expect the game to come out? You mentioned Steam is the leading platform, but when's it coming out? Where can gamers get it?
We're looking at the beginning of next year. We're not going to put a date on it yet because we don't want to put a date on it and then have to push it. Like I said, coming from the press side, there's nothing I hated more than, writing up the original blankety blank is coming out blank, and then a few months later, guess what got delayed today? Blank. I hate that, and a lot of people, we know people hate that. We're not going to put a date on this thing till we know. Early next year. I mean, I'm thinking January, but I'm not going to we're not going to make anything solid yet. But yeah.
Awesome. Dave, thanks for joining me. If you want to learn more about Rise of the Triad, go to riseofthetriad.net and expect more coverage on this game on RPAD TV.